On May 4, 1961, President John F. Kennedy welcomed a highly distinguished guest into the Oval Office. She was an international ambassador for aviation, a woman who had set over 40 world records, and an esteemed figure sponsored by the West German government. 16 years earlier, one specific purpose: to reach the Führer bunker and die by Adolf Hitler's side. Her name was Hanna Reitsch. She was a true believer down to her bones, a pilot so fanatically devoted to the Third Reich that Hitler personally pinned the Iron Cross First Class to her chest. She spent the war actively testing and building the regime's most terrifying weapons, which presents a deeply unsettling mystery. How does a devoted, active architect of the Nazi war machine bypass the post-war tribunals entirely, walk completely free, and end up shaking hands with an American president? When American forces captured Reitsch after the fall of Berlin, they didn't see a war criminal. They saw an intelligence asset. Allied interrogators spent roughly 18 months picking her brain for technical data on rocket designs, experimental aircraft, and eyewitness accounts of Hitler's final days in the bunker. Reitsch also benefited from a massive bureaucratic loophole. She never officially joined the Nazi Party. She never held a party card. On paper, she could be neatly categorized as a civilian test pilot who simply served her country. Allied intelligence made a quiet calculation. Her technical expertise was highly valuable, and prosecuting her would be administratively complicated. They prioritized her data over scrutinizing her deep complicity in the war effort. The post-war justice system was structured to prosecute institutional membership. If you signed the orders or wore the right rank, you went to a tribunal. But if your fanaticism was entirely personal and your brain was useful to the Allies, the system was completely blind to you. The assignments Reitsch willingly accepted were highly lethal. She repeatedly test flew the Me-163 Comet, an experimental rocket-powered interceptor that nearly killed her in a high-speed crash, crushing her jaw and fracturing her skull. The moment she recovered, she went right back to the runway. She also helped her find the V-1 flying bomb, a cruise missile designed specifically to terrorize the civilian neighborhoods of London. Early models kept missing targets, so engineers bolted a cramped cockpit to the fuselage. Reitsch climbed inside the active weapon to gather necessary guidance data. Testing wasn't enough. In 1944, she personally presented Hitler with Operation Suicide. It was a European kamikaze program. Reitsch recruited roughly 70 volunteers and trained young German men to fly explosive-laden aircraft directly into Allied targets, destroying themselves in the process. She volunteered for the very first mission, and she knew exactly who she was fighting for. During the war, she saw a pamphlet in Stockholm describing the gas chambers in plain language. She didn't express horror. She went directly to Heinrich Himmler and urged him to manage the public relations. When Himmler dismissed it as enemy propaganda, she accepted the lie without a second thought. Reitsch was no unwitting cog in a machine. She fully understood the atrocities of the regime she served, and she proactively built the weapons to defend it. In the final days of the war, the ideology she enabled turned inward and consumed her own household. On May 3, 1945, as Soviet forces swept into Silesia, her father took a gun and shot Reitsch's mother, her sister, and her 3 young grandchildren before killing himself. Her father chose total annihilation over Soviet occupation. An entire branch of her family was wiped out in a single afternoon by the intense fear and paranoia cultivated by the Nazi state. Yet even the violent destruction of her own family did not break her devotion. It changed her mind about absolutely nothing. After 18 months of American interrogation, they let her go. She faced no tribunal, no criminal charges, and no lasting denazification penalty. She simply walked out the door. She rebuilt her life as if the previous decade had been a minor interruption. She became the German gliding champion. With sponsorship from the West German Foreign Office, she moved to Ghana to run a national flight school, forming a close friendship with its leader, Kwame Nkrumah. Through every new trophy and every presidential handshake, her fanaticism remained completely intact. In an interview in the 1970s, Reitsch stated plainly that she still believed in National Socialism. She proudly told the reporter she still wore the diamond-studded Iron Cross Hitler had given her. When asked about the guilt of the era, she provided a chilling answer. The guilt they shared wasn't the Holocaust. It wasn't the millions of dead. The only guilt in her mind was that Germany lost the war. Hanna Reitsch died officially of a heart attack in August 1979. But that same month, a British test pilot received a letter from her. The note ended with a single line: "It began in the bunker, there it shall end." Reitsch had kept the glass cyanide capsule Hitler gave her in April 1945. Though an autopsy was never made public, it is widely suspected she finally used it, honoring a suicide pact delayed by 34 years. Hanna Reitsch highlights a massive failure in post-war justice. The Allies were so fixated on punishing the bureaucrats who signed the orders, they completely overlooked the true believers who built the weapons. She spent her life deeply devoted to a regime of terror, and because she had a useful skill, the world rewarded her by letting her fly free.